right, welcome back, and this is where we pick this particular discussion here. And of course, the proposed varsity funding model, which hopefully will start rectifying the very significant cash crunch that continues to threaten the existence of those institutions of higher learning. The proposal, however, has drawn sharp criticism from a section of education stakeholders, citing unfairness in the funding model. But on a flip side, those in support of the new model term it as a game changer in solving universities' cash crunch crisis. And now joining me in discussion is the University Academic Staff Union Vice Chair, CYPRIAN OMBATI. Thank you so much for making time to speak to us on this very important discussion that touched the core of very basic learning in the institution. Well, before even we dive into this particular discussion, I want to get your thought on this new model of funding. So what's your take on this one?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to say that the new funding model that the President unveiled about a week or so ago is, according to the way they have envisioned it, is going to solve the problems that are currently there at public universities, especially in Kenya. Yeah, when I look at that funding model, I want to say that you find that that model, it is true to some extent from the way they have demonstrated it. It seems like it may be able to finish the problems that are bedeviling, especially public universities, to some extent. It may not eliminate, but we do hope that as they'll be moving forward, it is a formula that can be reviewed. People can check it to see how far it is faring. But in summary, I want to say it's not a bad proposal. Mm-hmm. The only problem which we are already seeing could be how they will be identifying students, especially those whom they say are needy, vulnerable, and less needy. Mm-hmm. So when you look at those categories, that is where we may have a problem, in as much as they are saying that there is a way of identifying through a means testing instrument. We still feel that if it is not handled properly, that is where we may have problems, whereby those who do not deserve maybe, for example, to get scholarship and huge loans will end up benefiting, whereas those who need the funds will end up missing those funds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is the only problem we are foreseeing ahead of us.
When you look at the reasoning behind this model, to some extent, some might argue that there is no fairness in it. For example, if the government is funding, let's say, student X to join university Y, must it be a public university? What if I want to pursue a course in certain university, and it's known for its reputation and, of course, for the needs that it offers as far as that course is concerned? Do you think this is some sort of blocking, or rather denying the student that opportunity or a chance to actually get the quality education that they so desire, with this limitation of just restricting it to public universities only?
No, when you look at the formula, the way the students this time are going to select the programs that they are going to pursue at the university, I want to say it is now better than what we had before. Right. Because what was there before, students, we had even cases of students who are complaining, for example, those who are coming from poor backgrounds or who are needy, finding themselves being placed maybe, for example, in a private university. Mm-hmm. Yes, they are government-sponsored students, but they have been taken to a private university, and at the end of the day, you find that the government, yes, they'll pay part of their fee because you're a government-sponsored student, but then there is much more amount in addition to what the government pays that you are expected to pay in that private university. What we have now, I want to say that to us is better, because you find that now students have been given an opportunity to select a program in a university that they want to study in. First, this program, unlike before, it is declaring, it is open. You will be able to know that I'm going to pursue a Bachelor of Arts degree in a certain university, so you will know how much the cost will be. Unlike before, you will be able to check through your cutoff points if you meet them, and then you'll also be able to know which university is charging what type of fee. So at the end of the day, you find that it is a bit fairer than before, because I'll be choosing the university that I want to go, including private universities. They will be in that portal, and the courses they are offering, and the fee that they are charging. So it is a student to select. So nobody has hindered students from going to private university. If you want to go there with your own volition, and you think that you'll be able, you will go there. The fee is displayed. So at the end of the day, you will choose what you feel you are very comfortable with.
Well, when you look at the flip side of it, of course, there is this part of, parents and, those that complain about the unfairness of it. One side, of course, there is this advantage of now giving the less privileged in the society at least a chance to access to quality education and even choose the university of their choice. But on a flip side of the coin, we have a parent here who has a child who want to join, let's say, any of the private university for certain course. And this parent is very vulnerable. And this university is known for offering, maybe for its reputation for quality education in whichever course it offers. Don't you think this is, denying the candidate, of course, the learners, that crucial opportunity to take this, opportunity and join to that university and even pursue the career of their choice based on, this analysis that the new model of funding is proposing? And to some extent, it's very, to some might say, the unfairness of it. And even when you look at the introduction, when we began, there were a few issues that had been sidelined from both sides. There is some who support and some who say there is some sort of unfairness in it. So I'm talking about those parents that feel their children have been denied an opportunity to first access, the university of their choice. And second, of course, they'll be forced now to settle for any university that maybe it's not their first choice priority.
Okay, when I look at this model, I want to say that when a parent is taking a student, the only thing that the government has done is they have said for students who will be joining, because the model has about 4 components, 3 components actually. One, it has a scholarship, whereby the government has said those who will be joining public universities, they'll get the scholarship or a grant. So these are funds that the government will pay and they will not expect the student to pay back. Then they have also said that the other component is loans. Students will get loans from HELP. And the third component is the household. Now this is where a parent comes in. When you look at that, to me, I want to say that the government has tried, because what happens here is students whom they deem to be less needy, and especially those who are going to maybe private universities, they'll get more loan. The percentage of their loan is 55%. You see, whereas that one who is needy will be given about 18%, but more scholarship. So this one whom they deem is coming from a family that is well-to-do, for example, they'll be given 55%. If they go to a private university, they'll get more loan and there'll be no scholarship, especially if you are in a private university. That one they have made it clear. And you see, the good thing is the government has said this before students pick their courses. Number 2, they have said this thing is going to start with only first years, students who are joining. The rest of the students, they'll be funded under the older system. So to come to your question, whereby you are asking where a parent feels like he is discriminated or there is some form of unfairness, what the government, the way they were reasoning, yesterday I listened to the PS the other day when she was on TV. She mentioned that the government is only giving scholarship to universities that are state universities or government universities. But when it comes to private universities, she was challenging the private sector or the owners of the private university also to give scholarship, so that for sure, if we have needy student, we want also to see these private universities also offering scholarships to a certain extent to those who are needy, because they'll have a way of checking and knowing this is a needy student. He can go to a private university. They pay also the scholarship, just like the government is paying scholarship for those who are in government. Again, you find in our country, if you look at it, sometimes it is very, they say you cannot choose your cake and have it again. So what that means is that a student cannot say I'm needy and at the same time wants to go maybe to a private university where in most cases you find that the cost of the program is very high. Even today I've seen in the over media people displaying what is from the portal, and I want to tell you most of the private universities you find that, and a good, not all of them, but a good percentage, their courses are among the highest. So you see, if a student really is coming from a vulnerable background, I'll find it again very tricky that that student would want to go to a course or a program that is amongst the highest paid. Because then at the end of the day, it beats logic. Like, then I thought you said you are from a needy background. Why would you want to pursue a course that at the end of the day will be expensive? Unless, as I said, these now private universities come in and also chip in something by giving scholarship. So we are challenging that, can private universities also provide scholarships?
All right. Well, now to address the elephant in the room, of course, and now this is the reason why the president formed this presidential task force to take a look at how best we can, they can at least keep the universities, public universities, afloat. And of course, before even we, of course, take a look at the nitty-gritty and some of the limitation, this begs the question, of course, how did we get here in the first place, even as we speak about the way and measures to actually keep universities afloat?
Yes, the financial mess in public universities began when the government, the same government that has come with a new model, even that new model, we are not very sure about it, but we are very hopeful that maybe it may change things, because they have said it is going to allocate an extra of 20 billion to about 30 billion to universities, which I can tell you that for the universities, in special public universities, to get out of the mess, they require about 60 or 70 billion. But they have given about 30, which is almost about half of that amount. So the mess that is in the public university began by the funding model, again from the government. The government in about 2016 or thereabout brought in a new funding, not really model, but the parameters on how they were funding changed. They moved to what we call DUC model, which is a differentiated unit cost, meaning that before the government was funding program at a flat rate. Whether you are doing medicine, you are doing Bachelor of Arts or education, engineering, the funding was the same, 120,000 Kenya shillings per program. But the reality of the matter is that each program has unique requirements, which at the end of the day makes them to have differentiated costs in terms of running the program. So now what the government did is they brought in differentiated unit cost, which they were to fund at 80%. So meaning a student who is pursuing medicine, for example, they require about 720,000 to pursue that program. A student who is doing maybe Bachelor of Arts, as I've said, maybe requires 144,000. That is how they placed it. So the government said they will give 80% of the amount. And 20% of the amount will be given from the parents. Now, what the government did, instead of funding the 80%, they began from 64% in the year 2016, and in subsequent years they were coming down, 64 coming down to 50, like that. Now, as of last year, they funded it at about 43%. So because of that, now public universities were left with a huge gap of funds. They need to pay salaries, they need to pay the operations and maintenance within the university. So now what they resulted into is they receive funds. Now, instead of paying staff full salary, they pay either half of the salary.
All right.
Yes, like our colleagues in Egerton University are getting. What other universities were doing, instead of paying, they pay you your net salary.
Okay.
Yes. So what this means is the deductions that are supposed to go to loans, because staff have loans, yeah? So they deduct, but they don't remit to banks. They deduct amounts that from staff that are supposed to go to SACCOs, they don't remit.
Okay.
So because of that, the government had underfunded. So we resorted into that mess, and that's what you heard the president saying, that universities have about 60.2 billion shillings in terms of debts.
Okay.
That is money owed to KRA, money owed to pension, money owed to SACCOs, to loans, to part-time claims for lecturers, etc.
Well, they say, the devil is in the detail, of course, and now
Yes.
the best here is how to write off some of the debts that most of the universities actually owe. And it is 56.1 billion, the deficit that the government was supposed to remit. So far, they have remitted 43% out of 85, and university have been left with, some, struggling.
Yes.
And part of the proposals that the presidential task force was, some of the recommendation, one of them was to at least write off, some of these debts that universities have accrued over time. And for now, it hasn't happened, of course, yet, but the government gave at least something to hold on. Do you think, based on past experience, of course, what we have seen, we are being very realistic and optimistic about the future, but owing to the the previous records and what have happened, do you think even this could be just another promise or just another story?
Yes, when you look at the government says that, in fact, for us, if they write off the debts, it will be better for us, because what the government can only be able to write off is maybe KRA, money going to pension, money going to, especially those ones, statutory deductions. Those ones they can write off. But remember, we have money meant maybe for staff, like part-time claims. We have money meant for suppliers and contractors within the university, those who have worked in the university who have not been paid. Those are not easy really to pay off. Okay, should even the government write them off, what that means is that now the government will write off, but it has to get a way of paying. Because if it is pension, as I'm working in the university towards my retirement, at the point of retirement, I expect to get my pension. And even if it is written off, what it means is I must get my pension as it ought to be. So the only thing that, even though the government says we will write off means they don't ask each university to pay, but the government to see a way of getting funds and paying pension, and then now they don't tell Kenyatta University that you have several, maybe you have 10 billion that you are supposed to remit, because it is the same government that never gave money to KU. So if they write off, it means Treasury to get away and remit funds to the pension schemes so that staff can be paid. That one, as a union, I want to say we have asked the government to do that as soon as yesterday, so that now universities are left to settle debts like payment of staff, payment of suppliers and contractors, something like that.
All right. Well, still on this issue, of course, PS for Higher Education had issued some clerical calls, and this has been an ongoing discussion about how can university, of course, generate their own revenue, to be creative, to come up with ways of at least sustaining and, to stay afloat. Well, there has been some sort of recommendation, but is it a long shot? Is it something that can be attained, or is it just, unrealistic to have even such discussion?
Yes. When you see what the president unveiled towards funding of university, they have only dealt with one component, which is student financing in form of fees, where they have given these 4 classes on how they will fund loans, scholarship, etc., and household. The other way of funding universities, we have research. This one, they have said that they are developing the roadmap, which will be unveiled soon. That one they have said. Research is another way of funding, university getting funds. The other one is capital infrastructure. Yeah, because that fees that they have unveiled, which is student pay, I can for sure tell you that it will only be there to run the normal operations of the university. But the same fee that they collect from student is not able to pay or to do capital infrastructure. Yeah, like what you see, buildings, large buildings around the university. You find most of them require special funding again from the government, separate from what students pay as fees. So that one they have said they are coming to that. And finally, we have also another one called fee for service. So fee for service here means that universities can engage in consultancy, university can engage in activities that they can be paid. So those ones they are said they are going to unveil. But I want to talk about research, for example. Research, it is true that if universities engage in research, they can be able to generate funds. But when you look at research, the key persons who conduct research are the staff, especially lecturers. Yes, and you find that this same lecturer, if he has not been paid his salary, if he has not been promoted, in other words, if his welfare has not been taken care of, then it becomes very difficult to expect the same lecturer again to engage in research and generate funds for the university. A good university is that one which looks and takes care of the staff. Okay? Right now, they have sorted the issue to do with students. Because a university has about 4 pillars. We have students, we have staff, we have government, and then we have parents and guardians. Each of these 4 must perform their duties, especially I'm talking of government universities or state universities or public. The same, of course, applies even to private, whereby now you replace government with the owners of the university in terms of private. So those 4 pillars are the ones that can make a university to run. So right now they have sorted students. We need to see a way also of sorting out staff. Once you also sort out staff, then now there will be motivation, they'll be able to conduct their research in the universities, and they'll attract funds. We have also informed them again that research is not is more of a long-term solution. Because if today as a lecturer I engage myself in performing a research so as to generate funds, it has a process. I'll do innovation, I get it, I patent it, then I go to commercialization of that product, then from there it goes out to the market, then now it starts generating funds for the university. That is something that cannot be done in 1 year. In most instances, if it goes down about 3 years or even 5. So you find that yes, research can generate funds, but it's more of a long term. Otherwise, what we are asking is, can we motivate this staff? You cannot tell a staff at Egerton University who is paid like 50% of his salary, and Egerton is a research institution. even if however much you may want that lecturer to engage himself in research, he will not, because he also has bills to pay. He has kids who are going to school. If he's paid half the salary, he or she will not concentrate to conduct research so that the university can generate funds.
All right. Well, you speak to curiosity of many university stakeholders, and I mean, to be precise, the staff.
Yes.
When you talk about, lecturers, teaching and academic staff now being paid half of their salary, does it point to the fact that maybe people, or rather those in power, take, the teaching profession as a joke? Why would you pay a lecturer, half the salary, or a teacher half the salary? What is happening?
Yes, you find that is the problem we are having. We are saying that unless we prioritize first things first. It has been said that in the 70s, this country placed lecturers where they belong. Because lecturers, it's a fact, are one of the most highly educated people in whichever country, not even in Kenya, almost worldwide. Why? Because they have gone to the highest levels in terms of academics. But when you look at the pay they get, is less. In our country here, it is possible that you could find staff who are working in government sector who are earning salaries more than what lecturers are paid. And you find some are even those who have just graduated from the university. Yes, they are having maybe a bachelor's degree only, whereas a lecturer is even a PhD holder. Yeah, he's a professor. So unless we check those priorities, if the government prioritizes that and pays proper remuneration to academic staff, we'll be able to see a big change. But in our country, we have seen even now, I'm sure even you yourself, you know of academic staff who have gone even into elections whereby they want to be elected as MCS. And when they go there, they lose, because those people at home or in the village there will say, this lecturer is so highly educated. Why does he want to come for a small seat like that of an MCA? And we lose out. So it is because the remuneration has a problem also.
All right. Even as we wind up this discussion, of course, there is something that I want to get it from you. Well, is it you have some sort of a union, and you are under court, of course. But even during the time of Education Task Force, of course, going there, making some recommendations, did you give your input as far as your welfare is concerned?
Yes, we have a union, that is UASU, Universities Academic Staff Union. Actually, it's not under court. Court is a different. We have another umbrella union that we call Trade Union Congress of Kenya.
All right.
So that is where UASU falls, and also Kenya University Staff Union, also, which is for administrative staff within the university. So the two of us, we fall under Trade Union Congress of Kenya, TUC.
Okay.
So TUC is different from COTU. COTU has been involved. It has been there, but it really doesn't agitate or champion for our rights as such. And many times, even the issues that I've talked about, we know very well COTU has been there all along. You have never heard them come on TV to talk about academic stuff. Why? Not just because we don't belong to them, but all along they have never done that. So even now, you could see COTU maybe supporting a number of issues which as we feel are not being done in the right way. So we have our union and the Trade Union Congress of Kenya, and we are the ones who agitate for issues that affect lecturers in public universities.
All right. Well, of course, we are running out of time, and let me just give you 1 minute, of course, for your closing remark.
Yes.
And maybe you can close by this. You sit on the, top chair. Of course, you're the vice chair
Yes.
of the same union during this presidential working task force.
Yes.
Did you at least present something for you and for your members?
Yes, we presented our views to the task force on the issues that we think needs to have a paradigm shift in terms of how universities are operating in Kenya. And we are hopeful that at the right and opportune time when they'll be unveiling the report from the task force, we do hope that they'll consider the views that we gave in. However, I want to say that to our viewers that public universities in Kenya, especially public universities, they need to be given the serious attention that they deserve. The government will not go wrong by taking universities to the highest level. Today, I don't know that it was today, we had the Prime Minister of the country from Singapore.
Yeah.
Yes, the Prime Minister from Singapore was in the country today. They say that Singapore and Kenya were at par in the 60s. But right now, Singapore is far away from Kenya in terms of several aspects, economically and others.
Right.
So what that means is that if we were to borrow from Singapore, unless we give serious attention to education sector, and especially higher education sector, then only Kenya can be able to make huge strides in terms of development.
All right.
That's what I can urge the government to do. Kindly look at public universities, give them the serious attention they need, fund them properly, and Kenya will move far.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
CYPRIAN OMBATI. Well, thank you so much for making time to